Hi there, so welcome back to my video, and today I'm gonna read the first chapter of the book called Master Your Emotions. And today we are reading the first part. If you haven't seen the introduction to the video, please, it is the link in the description and you can just watch that. And let's start with the book. And thank you for listening to my book. And let's start. Part 1. What emotions are? Have you ever wondered what emotions are and what purpose they serve? In this section, we'll discuss how your survival mechanism affects your emotion. Then we'll explain what the ego is and how it impacts your emotion. Finally, we'll discover the mechanism behind emotion and learn why negative emotion can be so hard to deal with. So in this section we'll learn about ego, not the ego that we talk about. It's the survival mechanism ego that we tend to have. And let's start with the first chapter, how your survival mechanism affects your emotion. Why people have a bias towards negativity. Your brain is designed for survival, which explains why you are able to book read this book at this very moment. When you think about it, the probability of you being born was extremely low. For this miracle to happen, all generations before you had to survive long enough to procreate. In their quest for survival and procreation, they must have faced death of hundreds, perhaps thousands of times. Like, I don't know if you know that, but Samir Rana डायलॉग आई वर्ड दैट कितने बंदे को एक टाइम पे मास्टरबेट करना होगा ऐसे टाइम पे कि हमारा बर्थ हो. दिस इज़ समथिंग सिमिलर टू दैट हाउ मेनी पीपल हैव टू लाइक हैड डाइड जस्ट बिकॉज यू वर बॉर्न. The reason you were born was this. Like, how many people had to take a toll, how many people had to die just you to get born in this world. So let's not waste it and make it worth a while. So let's get into it. Fortunately, unlike your ancestor, you're probably not facing death every day. In fact, in many parts of the world, life has never been safer. Yet, your survival mechanism hasn't changed much. Your brain still scans your environment looking for potential threats. In many ways, some part of your brain have become obsolete. Obsolete means dead, like obsolete. While you may not be seconds away from being eaten by a predator, your brain still gives significantly more weight to negative events than positive ones. Fear of rejection is one of the bias towards negativity. In the past, being rejected from your tribe would reduce your chances of survival significantly. Therefore, you learned to look for any sign of rejection, and this becomes hardwired in your brain. Nowadays, being rejected often carries little or no consequences to your long term survival. You could be hated by the entire world, and yet you still have a job, a roof, and plenty of food on the table. Yet your brain is still programmed to perceive rejection as a threat to your survival. Take example of me. If I get rejected from a job, I feel I'm gonna die. But it's not gonna affect me long term, right? One day I got rejected. Maybe a better opportunity is coming from me. That's why I got rejected. So rejection is not a big threat, but your brain perceives it. Rejecting by your significant other or a guy or a girl you're pursuing, it's bad, right? It takes a toll on your heart. So let's get into the book again. This is why rejection can be so painful. While you know most rejections are no big deal, you nevertheless feel the emotional pain. If you listen to your mind, you may even create a whole drama around it. You may believe you aren't worthy of love and dwell a rejection for days or weeks. Worse, still you may become depressed as the result of this rejection. Take example of me. I got depressed because we broke up. Me and my significant other, we broke up, and I became so depressed that I couldn't wake up from my bed for like 2 weeks. So yeah, it takes an emotional toll, but you have to come through it. This is the all game of your emotions, and let's see how they affect you in the long term. In fact, one single criticism can often outweigh hundreds of positive ones. That's why an author with 55-star reviews is likely to feel terrible when they receive single one-star review. While the author understands the one-star review isn't threat to her survival, her authorial brain doesn't. It's it likely interprets the negative review as a threat to her ego, which triggers an emotional reaction. The fear of rejection can also lead you to over dramatize events. If your boss criticized you at work, your brain may see the event as a threat, and now you think, what if I'm fired? What if I can't find a job quickly enough and my wife leaves me? What about my kids? What if I can't see them again? While you're fortunate to have such an effective survival mechanism, it's also your responsibility to separate real threats from your imaginary ones. If you don't, you'll experience unnecessary pain and worry that will negatively impact the quality of your life. To overcome this bias towards negativity, you must reprogram your mind. One of the human being's greatest powers is ability to use thoughts to shape our reality and interpret events in more empowering way. This book will teach you how to do this. So action step here is complete the exercise in the end. So the link is in the description if you want to do it online. So let's do it. I'll do that first, and I'll give you my answers, and you can comment your answers in the comment box down below. So find an example of an imaginary threat resulting from your survival mechanism. Can you see how your mind works? Feel free to write it down below. So I'll just tell it to you. My threat is that I am not gonna find a job. That I want to be a data analyst so bad, and I think I'm not working hard enough. My imaginary threat is that my work visa is gonna expire. I'm gonna just end up being like, oh, nothing. I won't have anything. I won't get married. I don't have kids, and this is such a small thing. People don't have roofs on their head. At least I have roof. I should be grateful for that. But still, in my mind, I have this threat that what if I don't find a good job? What if I don't settle down on time? And this is what is pressuring me so damn much every day. And reading is the escape from all this. So let's continue the book. Why your brain's jobs isn't making you happy. Your brain's primary job is not to make you happy but ensure your survival. Thus, even if you want to be happy, you must take control of your emotions rather than hoping you will be happy because it's your natural state. In following section, we'll discuss what happiness is and how actually it works. How dopamine can mess with your happiness. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter which among the other functions plays a major role in rewarding certain behaviors. When dopamine is released into specific areas of your brain, the pleasure centers, and you get high. This is what happens during exercise, when you gamble, have sex, and or eat great food. You have the feeling like, I did it, I did it, I did it. That's the dopamine, right? One of the roles of dopamine is to ensure that you look for food so you won't die of starvation, and you search for a mate so you can reproduce. Without dopamine, our species would likely be extinct by now. It's a pretty good thing, right? Well, yes and no. In today's world, the reward system is in many cases obsolete. While in past dopamine was linked to our survival instinct, the release of dopamine can now be generated artificially. A great example is the effect of social media, which uses psychology to suck much more time as possible out of your life. Have you noticed all those notifications pop up constantly? They are used to trigger release of dopamine so that you stay connected. And longer you stay connected, the more money the services make. Watching pornography or gambling can also lead to release of dopamine, which can make these activities highly addictive. Fortunately, we don't need to act each time our brain releases dopamine. For instance, we don't need to constantly check our Facebook newsfeed just because it gives us a pleasurable shot of dopamine. Today, in today's world, I call it cheap dopamine. Scrolling reels or TikTok, whatever you have, the or YouTube shorts, it's a shot of cheap dopamine for me. Today's society is selling version of happiness that can make us happy and unhappy. We have become addicted to dopamine largely because of marketers who have found effective ways to exploit our brain. We receive multiple shots of dopamine throughout the day and we love it. But is that the same thing as happiness? Worse than that, dopamine can create real addiction, which with severe consequences on our health. Research conducted at Tulane University showed that when given permission to self stimulate their pleasure center, participants did it in on average of 40 times per minute. They chose the simulation of their pleasure center over food and even refusing to eat when they were hungry. Like they were not eating, they chose pleasure over food, the main goal of survival, that is food. Korean Lee Sung Soap is extreme case of this syndrome. In 2005, Mr. Soap died after playing a video game for 58 hours straight with a little food or water and no sleep. The subsequent investigation concluded the cause of death was heart failure induced by exhaustion and dehydration. He was only 28 years old. To take control of your emotions, it is essential you to understand the real dopamine plays and how it affects your happiness. Are you addicted to your phone? Are you glued to your TV? Or maybe you spend too much time playing a video game. Most of us are addicted to something. For some people, it's obvious. For others, it's more subtle. For instance, you could be addicted to thinking. To better control your emotions, it is important to shed light on your addiction as they can rob you of your happiness. The one day myth. The one day I will myth. Do you believe the one day you will achieve your dream and finally be happy? This is unlikely to happen. You may achieve your dream, but you won't live happily after. This is just another trick your mind plays on you. Your mind quickly assimilates to new situation, which is probably the result of evolution and a need to adapt continuously in order to survive and reproduce. This is also probably why the new car or house will make you happy for a while. Once your initial excitement wears off, you'll move on to crave the next exciting thing. This phenomena is called hedonic adaptation. How hedonic adaptation works. Let me share an interesting study that will likely change the way you see happiness. This study, which was conducted on a lottery winner and was extremely eye-opening for me. Conducted in 1978, the investigation evaluated how winning the lottery or becoming a paraplegic was influence happiness. The study found that 1 year after the event, both groups were just happy as they were beforehand. Yes, just as happy or unhappy beforehand they were beforehand. You can find more about it by watching Dan Glibert's TED Talk, The Surprising Science of Happiness. Perhaps you'll believe happiness. You'll be happy once you made it. But as the above study on happiness showed, this is just simply not true. No matter what happiness to you, you'll revert back to your predetermined level of happiness once you're adapted to new event. This is how your mind works. Does that mean you can't be happier than you are right now? No. What it means is that in long run, external events have little impact on the level of your happiness. In fact, According to Sonja, the author of How of Happiness, 50% of happiness is determined by genetics, 40% by internal factors, and only 10% by external factors. These external factors include such things such as whether we are single or married, rich or poor, or similar social influences. This suggests only 10% of your happiness is linked to your external factors, which is probably way less than you thought. The bottom line is your attitude towards life influences your happiness, not what happens to you. Your attitude towards life, what you think about life, is the key to happiness, not whether you're rich or whether you're poor. It just contributes 10 fucking percent, just 10%. By now, you will understand how your survival mechanism impacts negatively your your emotion and prevents you from experiences more joy and happiness in your life. Next section, we'll learn about the ego, and but first, here's an action step. So the link is in below in the description for the workbook, but I'll read it from here. Okay, shots of dopamine. Action. Identify that you believe give you shot of dopamine. Write them down. For me, so I'll say watching YouTube. I am addicted to YouTube. It gives me I don't know that cheap dopamine or whatever, but I am addicted to watching YouTube. I don't watch reels. I just go through videos. I can't stop. I just get into the loop, and I don't know when 2 hours are gone, and just still watching and watching and watching. And that's it. That's the main addiction in my life. And lately, it's been sleep, because I recently had a breakup. So sleep is also giving me like the shot of dopamine. I don't want to wake up. I don't know why. I just try to wake up, and I'm like, my brain just shuts down and like go to sleep. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting for me, right? But yeah, that's why I can't focus on my career, and it's a little stressful. But yeah, these are two things that are giving me cheap dopamine lately. And yeah, that's it. That's me, and I'll see you in the next one with continuing this book on chapter 2. And thank you for watching. And like, share, and subscribe. That's what we say, right? Like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed it.